Welcome to my show. It's a guest here. Her name is Nancy K. Mrs. Nancy, how are you doing, ma?
I'm great, thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Mrs. Nancy. Firstly, you are an author. You are also a veterinarian and a blogger. Can you please, Mrs. Nancy, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mrs. Nancy?
So I have loved animals ever since I can remember, and my dream was always to become a veterinarian, which I did. And I specialized in small animal internal medicine. And a medical scare of my own prompted me to write my first book about medical advocacy. That's the book called Speaking for Spot. And then I wrote another book called A Dozen Reasonable Things to Expect from Your Vet. And now I'm writing, well, it'll be published within the next few months, a middle grade novel for middle grade readers. And I post a weekly blog on Substack. I love to write.
That is very, very beautiful. And that was why I also want to even dive to your books, which you've written. I think currently now you've written three books, which is Speaking the Sports, Be the Advocate for Dog Needs, Your Dog Best Health, A Dozen Reasonable Things to Expect from Your Vet. I think that two books. Can you please discuss more on those books? And do you have more books, as you said earlier, but can you just discuss more on those books you are planning to write in the coming future, Mrs. Nancy?
Sure. So my first two books, Speaking for Spot and A Dozen Reasonable Things to Expect from Your Vet, those are books that help people who have animals uh, develop their own medical advocacy skills so they can speak for Spot, so to speak. And many people who have read the book said that they take those same principles and recommendations to their own doctor visits to learn how to basically ask the right questions to get the right answers, and that they're entitled to learning about all the options, not just one option for their pet. Um, the middle grade novel that will be out this year, which is called A Dog Named 647, is a middle grade adventure story about a girl who crosses paths with a dog, a pregnant dog who's run away from a puppy mill. Puppy mills are endemic throughout the United States. And so the book is an adventure story wrapped around her attempts to liberate these dogs.
That's a very, very beautiful book. Thank you so much for the insights, Mrs. Nancy.
Yeah,
And that's why I would like to dive to the point of the animals. You've definitely, you even said it from the time you've come, you've really loved and you really loved animal. So I would like to dive to
yeah.
that point and how you think it also supports children. You know, a lot of children now they could like an animal, they could like to be with animal in that time now. So how do you think interacting with animals, also supports a child emotional intelligence and empathy, Mrs. Nancy?
Sure. So when with an animal, one has to evaluate body language. There's no spoken word. And so a child develops a sort of emotional intelligence, recognizing what it is that their pet is feeling in the moment. And it develops empathy in that regard, feeling how the animal might be feeling and investigating that. Plus, participating in the care of a pet teaches children to be thinking outside of themselves and caring for another rather than just themselves, which is really beautiful. There's really proven benefits for pets. I think there was a study of over 600 6 and 7 year olds, and those who had a dog in the household, that group of 6 to 7 year olds, only 12% of them experienced anxiety, whereas I think the number was over 20% for kids that did not have a pet in the household. So it teaches a different way of being for kids to be able to interact and understand the emotions of an animal.
That is very, very brilliant. Animal are another way of showing some kind of love. Sometimes when someone do
Yeah,
not have that love, when someone have animal, it definitely give that love that that person needs every single time. And I would like to dive to our time today. You do understand that during our time now, there are a lot of anxiety. There are a lot of, depression and a lot of pressures now in the life we are currently. So I would like to ask for the children that are coming to this world that, when they are mature now, they dive to this world and know the reality of this world. So what do you think are the
Yeah.
therapeutic benefits of children who spend time with animals, especially those, with anxiety? Like, what do you think are the benefits for children who spend time with animals? How do you think it can help them when they've grown to their, mature states, Mrs. Nancy?
I think that animals are a very calming presence. And the way that we interact with them is far less demanding on us than when we're interacting with other people. It's kind of a Zen state to be with an animal and just be present with that animal and look into the animal's eyes. I like to think that animals talk to us, but we just need to learn how to listen. And learning how to listen it's a very um, wonderful skill of being still and really deeply listening. So I think that animals are a super calming presence in our life. I just wrote a Substack post that's the title is Now More Than Ever We Need Our Dogs. Unconditional love and support.
Exactly. Animal will definitely give that. Even I won't agree with you. There might be some message a dog, an animal can be passing to someone when someone is caring for it. Sometimes you just need to just understand how it's definitely communicating because definitely it will definitely continue to give that love one definitely need. It would be a very good recommendation. Thank you so much for
Right.
the
And I
insight.
think kindness, it really teaches kindness um, and humanity. I think that people who are convicted of horrible crimes against people sometimes have a history of horrible acts against animals. And so I think that learning that very kind, compassionate warmth with an animal, I just think it's super healthy.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's super healthy. Thank you so much for those insights, Mrs.
Sure.
Nancy. And also, I would like to dive to the point of age. Animals can come in various ways. There are some animals that definitely, there are some certain age that a children can have it. Do you think there are some simple age, appropriate ways children can participate in caring for animals, or do you think all children, despite wherever age, could care for children, Mrs. Nancy?
Um, so it's kid dependent. It really is. A child who is 2 or 3 years old may be able to help, pour the dog food into the food bowl or change the water in the water bowl or go for walks with the parent and the animal. So it's really age dependent. It's a very rare kid who can handle the sole responsibility for taking care of a pet. And so when someone says to me, I want to get an animal to teach my child responsibility of taking care of the animal, I always say, well, it's going to require your care as well. It it's it's too much for kids to be solely for most kids to be solely responsible. And there's no cutoff age as to when they may or may not be able to do it because every kid is different. And so if a child is doing something to care for the animal, that requires parental supervision.
Thank you so much for those insights, Mrs. Nancy. Definitely, when someone have those animals, definitely younger age could definitely assist, and the ones that are older could definitely know how they could care for these animals, which is a very, very big insight. Thank you so much for those insights. And I would also like to know, like the audience to also like to know what role you think, animal play in helping children understand life cycles. Do you think animals will also
Uh-huh.
help children understand, life cycle, death, grief in a very
Yeah,
healthy way, Mrs.
yeah,
Nancy?
I really do. Because we all know that dying is a normal part of life. And so losing a pet rather than a beloved family member is often a much gentler way to introduce kids to the process. And depending on the age of the child, they can be involved in the burial process. What I don't agree with is when people say that they want to breed their dog or cat so that their children can have the experience of birth. I don't agree with that simply because of the pet overpopulation problem. I really don't think that we should add to pet population for the sake of children witnessing the miracle of birth. Shoot, in this day and age, there's so many videos online. They can witness the miracle of birth through a video.
Wow, that is very, very inspiring. Honestly speaking, I never ever knew that. Honestly speaking, that is
And
really.
also, kids get to witness the aging process and how as animals get older, they're more frail, they can't be as active, and it, I would hope, teach compassion for elder family members who are going through the aging process.
That is very, very inspiring. Thank you so much, Mrs. Nancy.
Sure.
Definitely, it definitely helped those children to understand how life cycles is. That will definitely grow old, definitely will pass away. And when those grief are there, they've definitely, get adapted to it in one way or the other. Probably when they lost their dog or anything happens, they definitely feel that sign of empathy, which they really need in
Yeah.
the time they've come for. Thank you so much, Mrs. Nancy. And for those that family without pets, like me, I do not have pets. So, like for
Yes.
family without pets, what do you think? How do you think they can still teach their kids, their children about humane animal care, Mrs. Nancy?
Well, I think one, they can visit other families that have pets to experience that. They can go to animal shelters or rescue organizations and see the animals there and perhaps volunteer there so that they're interacting with the animals. Um, those are a couple of ways. Also, I don't, here in the United States, there's lots of opportunities to foster dogs, meaning take them in and giving them temporary shelter. So that would be another possible way. I think going to a zoo situation, that's a good teaching experience because one can discuss the ways in which the enclosures they may or may not be humane for the animals living there. And animals from the wild, how do they feel about being in smaller enclosures and not out in the natural world?
That is very, very beautiful. That means it's very great to just take the child for outing, to see animals, to see how
Yes.
beautiful animals are, to engage with animals, to definitely feel the empathy with animals. That will also definitely help them in one way or the other in terms of animal care. Thank you so much, Mrs. Nancy. And lastly, Mrs.
Sure.
Nancy, like if you could give a child, there are a lot of people that could be listening, but definitely, like if you think you could give a child one experience you've had with an animal, and what do you think it would be, Mrs. Nancy?
If an experience that I've had with an animal,
Yeah, anyone.
oh, there are so many, so many. Um, Sometimes, I guess what I would say is that sometimes as veterinarians, we need to put an animal to sleep. And we call that euthanasia. What it means is giving a medication that allows the animal to gently pass away or die. And we do that for very respectful, humane reasons because the animal is suffering.
Mhm.
And as hard as it is to do that, I'm always get a really good feeling in my heart as I appreciate the bond between the people and their animals because usually the people are there and the love that exists between them. It's just a very super special moment and I feel good that I can relieve suffering.
Oh, that's very, very emotional. Honestly speaking, having to have that sense of, giving the animal a situation that you're dying slowly, man. Like, honestly speaking, it's definitely not easy. And it shows because definitely if one does not do that, they are really, those the situation they are, they might be suffering and a lot of things might be happening. And definitely if they are giving those things to just, leave the world slowly, definitely. It's a very hard
Yeah,
choice, but honestly speaking, it just has to
it's a
be
very
done.
difficult choice. Yeah. And
Exactly.
counseling people through that decision making because everyone is different in what they want to do. And I feel really privileged to be able to counsel people through that decision making because it's very difficult. And I have a whole chapter in my book, Speaking for Spot, that addresses that.
Mm, definitely shows the kind of sense of difficulty it is, honestly speaking. It's really difficult work when someone have such animal for some people have had it for a year too, and now they have to just say goodbye very soon. It's gonna be gone very soon.
Yeah,
It shows the
yeah.
kind of humility and kindness that one could have. Animal is very powerful. When someone have it, definitely it shows some kind of humanity in us, honestly speaking.
Oh,
And
yes.
also, Mrs. Nancy, there is a question I normally ask during the end of the show, Mrs. Nancy. From our forefathers, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our forefathers' time that is missing in our time today, Mrs. Nancy. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mrs. Nancy, what do you think that
Oh,
thing will be, Mrs. Nancy?
hmm. I think it would be greater family connections where families aren't dispersed. I have the privilege of living right next door to one of my kids and his wife and my grandchildren. And we live right next door. So it feels very multi generational. We feel like one big family. And it's really special. So I think that would be the one thing because today there's such a lack of connectivity with other people and especially face to face, person to person. And that's probably what I would bring back. And I would probably go back to a day when the internet didn't exist.
Definitely. I have to
I
agree
think
with
it's
you.
been very detrimental for kids
Mm.
and maybe adults as well.
Definitely, I completely agree with you. Honestly speaking, I know people like you are definitely be the one that will know how it is during that time. Because we that are very young, we just grow old and we just saw phone and we just like technologies everywhere. So we did not know how it was really, how it is that time. But definitely, I do know that human connection is very, very important in our life because we are
Yes.
not really programmed. I don't think the body is programmed in a way to be having some kind of large, far distance connection. I don't think the body is really programmed because, and that is why there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of issues, depression, suicide risk increasing every time. Those
Yes.
things are happening due to this situation. We have to have some kind of human connection. We have to have some kind of empathy towards each other, communication, like one-on-one, like this, we seeing ourselves and we giving that argument is very important because I think that's one of the two the body's program. But definitely nobody ever imagined that it would be like this, honestly speaking, but they thought,
No.
bring people together more. But definitely it's now we give a lot of people disconnection. We do hope in the coming future, and even before I pass away on this earth, I will definitely experience one or two things like that. Definitely, I do not know, I don't think it will happen, but I definitely hope that better things and more things definitely happens in the coming future. Mrs. Nancy, I definitely want to sincerely appreciate you for the time and the opportunity you give to me to speak on, animals with children. Children are beautiful. Children are coming out. They should have this love, this empathy towards children and towards animals is very important in our time today. Thank you so much, Mrs. Nancy.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, Mrs. Nancy. Have a wonderful day, Mrs. Nancy. Bye bye.
You too. Bye bye.